Welcome to Honey in the Rock, a podcast for women. Here we believe in finding sweetness even in the most difficult places. Each story you will hear is a testament to God's faithfulness, showing that even in the wilderness, He provides honey from the rock. Join us as we listen to real, raw, and redemptive stories that remind us of God's goodness and grace no matter what life brings us. This is Honey in the Rock, sweet stories from hard places. Let's get started. Welcome to Honey in the Rock, Season 2, our podcast. We are so excited that you have chosen to join us today, and I'm so honored to have a very special guest with us today, Miss Latora. Do you go by Latora or Tori? Because I've heard both.
You know, you call me Tori, which is fine, but it's Latora. But
I think it's because
fine.
your sister called you Tori to me, and so then I thought your name was Tori for the longest time, and then people started saying Latora, and I'm like, oh, wait. Is her name Latora? So that's why I started calling you Tori. But I have now transitioned to Latora, but not always.
No, it's totally fine. But it's Latora, but I don't mind Tora.
We're going to call her Latora because that's what she prefers. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I am Latora. I am from Louisiana. Originally, I've been in California about 15 years. And it's just been a journey of being a single mom, raising my 3 kids as a single mom, and so that's...
Okay, well, a little bit about your 3 kids. Ages, genders.
So I have Brooklyn, she's 21 years old.
Okay.
See. Broderick is 20, and then I have Leilani, my baby, she's 11 years old.
Okay, so you didn't follow the bees.
I did not, because...
Is that part of your story?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then we will get into that in a hot second.
Yes.
Okay, so part of your story has to do with the different letters that start your kid's name.
Yes.
So let's go back in time and tell me your story. I really wanted to bring you on too because I know that you have a heart for single moms.
Yes,
you are a single mama. Yeah. We champion single moms at Grace. We love you guys are the rock stars of women. And I want your story and your perspective and your wisdom and encouragement to be heard because it's something that I can't really speak to, but you can.
Right.
So I love it because I actually really don't know Latora's story all that much. She's been a beautiful part of our church for the last few years. How long have you been at Grace now?
It's almost 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's been such an exciting journey that honestly I forget. You know, I'm like, oh, it's been a year and a half. Oh, it's been 2 years. So yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Her sister was at our church for many years, and then she went to another church for a while, and then Latora and her kiddos started coming. And Latora went through our leadership training internship kind of thing. It's called Grace Ministry Track. She went through that last year and graduated, and now she's a coach this year for the new incoming class. So she's very involved. She's also a small group leader for our single moms. Yeah. So she's an intricate part now, very quickly. Of our church. So, and your daughter is doing GMT this
Brooklyn,
year.
Yes, yeah, she is.
So she's in it now as one of our leaders. So, okay, go back. Tell me your story.
Okay, so let's start off with the bees.
Yes.
Brooklyn and Broderick, they're named after their dad. His name is...
You don't have to give his name, but we know if you don't want to give his name, we just know it starts with a B.
Okay, yeah. So, well, it's all right. Brooklyn, their dad name is Booker T.
Ooh.
Washington.
Wait.
Yes.
Like, isn't that like it's a famous.
Yeah, it is. So,
did his parents do that on purpose?
They did, yeah.
That's kind of fun though.
Yeah.
That's why you were laughing. You're like, so his name is... That's awesome.
So, yeah.
And did you meet him in Louisiana?
Yeah, we were married. We had Brooklyn and Broderick prior to getting married. But I wanted their names to have his initial. So we have Brooklyn Tamia Washington and Broderick Tyler Washington. Of course, he wanted Broderick to be a junior, but I was like, I can't do it. I don't want my son to get teased in school. Just that. So I
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
no, but I'll give you their initials. So
I
that's
like
where
that.
the bees came from. So
I
their
love
dad.
that.
Yeah.
So how long were you and him married?
We were married 3 years before I moved to California, and then I got my divorce, and then it took about 2 years, so like altogether 5 years.
Okay.
But we dated, and we actually had Brooklyn and Broderick prior to getting married, and
Okay.
that's a story within itself. Yeah, it was just one of those things. Like we had already had kids, and I grew up in Pentecostal church, and I know everything about it. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to church, and I
Yeah.
was doing that. And my uncle, he used to always say things like, "Oh, they put license on a dog if a man can't marry you," just that whole thing. And so I felt like I was guilt tripped into
Oh.
marrying him. But no, we had the kids, and even then, I was like, okay, I just want to be saved. I want to do things the right way. And so I was like, okay, it'll be easy because I felt like the only thing that I was doing, like we were living together,
Yeah.
people say shacking up.
Right. Matthew is definitely calls it
Right.
shacking
So
up.
I was like, well, if we get married, it'll be easier for me to be saved. Because in my heart, I felt like that was the only thing that I was doing that wasn't godly.
Yeah.
And we got married after we had the kids, and things just got crazy. So
Was it crazy before?
it was crazy, but it wasn't as crazy because it's one of those things I feel like, after we got married, it was like, oh, I got her now and she's not going anywhere. And so everything just kind of like turned. He was good with the kids. He just wasn't a good husband. And then it just started being like he just wasn't a good father. And so I was like, yeah, I gotta go. And it's funny
Yeah.
because growing up, I grew up in church. My mom was in church, but my dad wasn't in church. And so we had both of our parents in the home, but my dad, it's no secret, he wasn't in church and he was an alcoholic. And so I would always say, I don't want to marry anybody like my dad.
Yeah.
Most girls want to marry somebody like their dad, but it was more like I don't want to marry anybody like my dad. And a few years into the marriage, I was like, oh, I'm living this life again.
Wow.
Yeah, I
You're
felt
like,
like
I
I was
married
just,
my
yeah, I
dad.
married my dad, and that's how I felt. And yeah, it was pretty bad. It wasn't more like physical abuse; it was more verbal
Yeah.
abuse. In our marriage, he just started drinking, and he started, using drugs and stuff like that. And I think for the most part, it was, you know, I probably would have stayed if he was a good dad. Even though if we didn't get along, I may have stayed. But when I saw the effects on my children, that's when I was like, okay, I gotta go. I
Yeah.
remember Brooklyn. She was like 5 or 6 years old, and he would come in the house maybe sometime 2, 3 days later, and all she saw was her dad coming home. And I remember she asked me, I was mad. You've been gone, and I've been here with these kids, and I'm working, and um yeah, so he came home one morning and I'm looking mad, and she turns and look at me and she was like, "Mom, why are you mad? He's only been gone 3 days."
Oh.
And so I was like, yeah, it's time to go.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was my turning point. I was like, okay, I have to get my kids out of this,
Wow.
So
How old was your son?
Broderick was maybe he was probably 3 going on 4
And then
at the time,
Brooklyn
and
was about
Brooklyn was
5?
5, yeah,
Okay.
going on 6.
Wow, that's young.
Yeah.
How was that for them going? Like, one, you left
I
Louisiana.
left, yeah.
And what brought you out to California?
Well, my sister was in California. She was in the Navy. She was married.
Is this Shannon?
Shannon, yeah.
Okay.
So my sister was here. This was back in 2010. And all of my other family lived in Louisiana. And to be honest, I knew that I had to leave Louisiana in order to get away from him, because I just feel like it would have been a pretty bad situation. One of those things like, I just felt like, yeah, it would. I just felt in my heart it would have been bad, and I needed to like go,
Clean
like
cut,
completely.
lots of distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
would have been like a situation that was like out of control. I just feel like he wasn't used to people leaving him. If he left, then it's different. But then when somebody leave you, then it's like, okay, yeah,
Get a little messy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
So you moved with your kiddos here,
hmm
and what was that like going from married, but you felt like it's interesting that
yeah,
you got married to feel like like a good saved girl, but also
yeah,
safe.
right.
And then all of a sudden you feel very unsafe and your kids feel unsafe. And so now you have left all that you know and you move out here. How did your kids like at 5 and 4, like, did you see that
Yeah.
transition affect them?
For the most part, Broderick was more like a mama's boy. It was, I remember telling him, he was like, Mom, if you're not going to talk to him, I'm not going to talk to him. And I was like,
He was
no.
protective of
Yeah.
you.
And I was like, that's our thing. And I'm like, no. But Brooklyn was always like, she loved her dad. She's such a dad's girl. Even when we were in Louisiana, they were like pretty close. Even now, she loves her dad. And so I remember coming here and there was a conversation. And even after coming to California, he would always, in the beginning, he would say mean things. And of course, if we're on the phone, then she can hear me. She didn't
Right.
hear him. And then I know growing up, it was like, don't tell your kids things that are going on and stuff like that. And so I tried to mimic that in our home, but it just got so bad to where I felt like she was angry with me because she felt like I was so mean towards him and stuff like that. And so I remember one day he was just being mean and I just put him on speakerphone and she heard some of the things that he said. And after that, she never questioned me again about anything.
I think shielding our kids from the negativity and even like arguments, I think there's a balance,
Yeah.
obviously. Like, they don't need to hear it all, they don't need
hmm
to see it all, and they shouldn't. However, I think our kids are smart and they pick up on things,
Yeah.
and they need a little more of the full picture of what they can handle
Right.
at that age. And like, even with our son who's adopted,
hmm
uh we've had to have like really interesting conversations with him about that whole process
Yeah.
and the honesty of like, okay, we're going to honor your birth parents, but we're also like going to be real and not sugarcoat
Yeah.
different things, because that's not helpful for you to have this like pie in the sky
hmm
fantasy of what actually is not reality. And so it's like, it's a fine balance that as a
Yeah.
parent you hold of like, I'm not going to trash this person because that's not right. And my kid has to know some things.
Right.
And I think it's healthy if we can do it in a healthy way. I think
hmm
it's healthy for our kids to know about, like, well, we don't go to that uncle's because
Because, yeah.
of this and this,
Yeah.
and we love them. We can love a person, but we also have boundaries,
Right.
and this is what it looks like when a person does this and this and this, and this is the consequences. We've done that our whole lives with our kids,
Right.
not shielded them from the dysfunctions of other people.
hmm
But we've done it with tact, we've done it with honor, but we're like, I mean,
Yeah.
the people are putting the stuff out there, so let's just call it what it is
Right.
and then move on. So I applaud you in that. I think
Yeah.
there's a good, healthy balance in exposing our kids to reality
And
in a
that's what,
healthy
yeah,
way.
that's exactly what it was. Cause like I said, when she would get on the phone with him, at the time, he was a total different person on the phone with her. But then, like I said, to me, it was just, and he was upset because I took the kids, like,
Yeah.
you took my kids all the way to California. So there was like a distance. He wasn't able to just show up
Yeah.
and do things. And so, I mean, I get it, but at the end of the day, I did it to protect them
Yeah.
and myself. So.
So you're here in California, and so they still have relationship, sounds like, with their
Yeah.
dad.
hmm
And so what did your life look like once you got here?
So after getting here, it was more like, of course, I wasn't used to living with somebody. So I was with my sister for like a few months.
Yeah.
We got here in July 2010, and then I applied for a job on base. I got that job on base. Later, by October, we had our
Nice.
own apartment. I mean, granted, we went from having our own home in Louisiana to a one-bedroom apartment. And so it was
Much
definitely
different
like,
cost of
yeah,
living, I'm
okay. It
sure.
was like what I was paying for that one bedroom, I could have been paying for. I mean, I think my home in Louisiana probably was like half.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was
And that was
definitely
that was 15 years ago. Good
exactly.
Lord.
Yeah. Definitely a sacrifice, but it was worth it. It was so worth it. Just looking back, and I'm like, okay, I wouldn't have changed anything. So
How does a single mom, and I always think about this, like, how do you guys work? And especially when they're little, it's like, how do you do that? Like, practically, is there assistance? Is it there like preschools? Is
hmm
there like you didn't all you had was Shannon and her family
right.
here. Like, and Shannon I know is working. She's
Yeah.
such a beast mode of a woman
Yes,
have
she
like
is.
500 jobs at one time. So like she's probably not necessarily available to watch your kids while you go to work. So like
hmm
how did you do that?
Honestly, I think I'm gonna be honest. The move here to California was definitely it was God ordained.
Yeah.
And I can say that because after getting here, I got a job on base, and so because I was working on base, I was able to utilize the CDCs and the child care
Oh, what a
services. Yes, and
blessing.
so I was able to, they went to school on base because I worked on the base, and we, like I said, we were able to use the CDC and things like that, and so that was like helpful.
Oh yeah.
Granted, I wasn't, and I tell people like, and I've been on the job 15 years now because I still work on the base.
Nice.
And one thing I learned with this transition and working on a base and having this opportunity was it wasn't about the money at the time. I mean, it paid the bills.
Yeah.
Sometimes there was like it was enough to pay the bills, and we had food, and we always had transportation. I give all glory to God for that. But you know, the main thing is that it allowed me to be present,
Yeah.
to have that time with my kids. I always kept them in sports because I knew like, hey, these kids need to, just be active. And so
Yeah.
they were always in sports. Broderick and Brooklyn, they did the youth sports on the base, which was the prices were reasonable at the
Yeah.
time. And so everything just kind of fell in place. It wasn't like, I can't really say that it was such a struggle or such, I
It
did it myself,
it's not as hard as
but
maybe
it
I
wasn't
think it
as
would be.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but I know situations and I know people where it is hard, but
Yeah.
like I said, it was just one of those things. I feel like it just everything was just like falling in place, and God did
So
it.
the part that I think would be hard is, especially with young kids, is like mama needs to tap out every once in a while. And when you're a
Yeah.
single parent, like it doesn't, there's no one to tap out to.
No.
Like when they're throwing fits, it's like thank God I've had Matthew to be like, when my blood is boiling and
Mm-hmm.
escalating, I can tag him in and I can go calm down, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
That's not the case
Not at
with your
all.
world.
No.
And I would imagine, I mean, I guess you adapt, you probably have to like mature your heart quicker than I would have had. But like, because it's like, what choice do you have? You have to
Mm-hmm.
like do it.
Yeah.
But I imagine, like, for me, I would think that would be the most challenging part, is like, I'm like, it all falls
Mm-hmm.
on you.
And tapping out for a single mom for the most part is after the kids are asleep, and then just having like that hour or two before you can actually like just go to sleep and
So
or
have an
or
early
rest.
bedtime.
Yes. Yeah. If that, because I mean, I remember I think at the time I was getting off maybe 7 or 8 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
And then Shannon, my sister was amazing. She would help out, my brother-in-law David at the time, he would help out. So it was good. And then just to have like her kids were around the same age as my
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
So it was good. But for the most part, there was no like real tapping out. It's like, okay, they're going to bed, and okay, I can take 10 minutes, 30
Yeah.
minutes, an hour, and just do nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah. But you're still doing something, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
always. There's always
always.
something on the list.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my goodness. Okay, so you're here, you've got a job, you're providing for your kids. Was there any financial support coming from your ex?
no. So
Okay.
let's yeah. He did
Okay.
not. It took us a while to like even like get the child support stuff going. And I'm not here to bash him or anything
No.
because but this is what it was. It was just really just me just working. There was no if I tell you right now like the amount of back child support that's due, you would be like, okay.
You're like, I could put a good down payment on
Yes,
a
on
nice
yeah.
big
So
house or buy myself a brand new car.
right, right. And so and it wasn't like I came and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just put you on child support. It was like, hey, just try. Give us, something, help in
Right.
whatever area you can. But to be honest, I think it was more like he was mad at me for leaving. And that was a bigger issue than him saying, okay, well, I'm just gonna send you money for the kids.
Right.
So yeah, everything pretty much at that point was to
Punish you.
punish me, make me suffer, so he thought. But
Right.
so
But like
yeah,
lots of single mamas, they rise above
yeah,
and they get it done
yes,
with or without help,
exactly.
which is just amazing to
Yeah.
me. Amazing. So your kids are now here. What happens next in your story?
So what happens next is we were actually like everything was going good, and I think for me I was still like I was broken. I there was like it was just working, and of course I found a church home. We were in church, and then I had a friend and she was like, "Oh, Latora, I want you to meet this friend." And I was
Mm.
like, "Okay, yeah." Whatever. And so I ended up meeting a guy, and I thought he was like older, he would have been mature, things like that. And I was just working, and I think I had even during that time tried to like go back to school
Wow.
to Miracosta. I was taking some classes, and it was just horrible, like okay, I was like, I can't do this
You're
right
like,
now. Yeah.
no, I don't have capacity right now for that.
Yeah, so but anyway, yeah, I met this gentleman, and so that's where my baby Leilani came in, because it was like just one of those things like I knew I wasn't supposed to be, engaging in activities and stuff like that. However, in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, this can lead, to something, I guess great. But it was like a moment when I was like, okay, I'm done. This is it. And then I go to the doctor and I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Oh
Like, yeah,
man.
and it was like, you're pregnant. I was like, there's no way. There's no way I'm pregnant. But yeah,
What's the age
so
difference from
so there's a 9-year age difference.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yes. And I
So
tell people this. Oh,
how old were you then when you had
I
Leilani?
was 30. I was in my 30s.
Okay, so
Like,
that's still young, super
yeah,
young for
but yeah.
but the 9 year, you're like,
Yeah.
and I was
And I
done.
was done. And the thing of it is, like I said, I was in church and going to church, but I wasn't healed.
Yeah.
And to be honest, maybe there was no healing actually taking place, because I was still, just like seeking. I wanted to be loved, and I was like, I know that I'm a good wife, and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's been 9 years, because by that time it was like 5 years. My kids, they were like 5 and 6 when we
Yeah.
came. And then when I got pregnant with Leilani, they were like 10 and 9.
Yeah.
So some years had gone
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
So, and I remember during that time, they always wanted a sibling, because Brooklyn and Broderick, they're close. They've always been like really, really close. It was just the two of them. And they would always talk about having a sibling. And I'm like, oh, I have to be married. That I used to say that, like, oh, well, when I get married. And then all of a sudden I'm pregnant. And honestly, at the time, like, I never brought like men around my kids.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, how are you pregnant?
You're like, oh shoot, we're gonna have to have that talk.
Yeah, like, what is this? What happened, Mom?
Where's the
So,
book to help me
yeah,
out with this one?
that was like it was awkward because,
Yeah. How do you have that conversation where you're like, I mean, because we're gonna call it what it is. It's sin.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's like mom like was sinning.
yeah,
engaged in something that I wasn't supposed to before
Yeah.
marriage, obviously babies are a blessing.
Right.
So like, yeah, how, and that's for like a 10 and a 9-year-old. How did you explain that to
And
them?
honestly, it wasn't the whole truth. 'Cause I
Fair
told him,
enough.
I was like,
I
and I
like your
was,
honesty.
yeah, I told him, I was like, oh, I kissed someone. No, and at the time they did. I mean, now they're probably looking like, Mom, really?
Yeah. It
But
sufficed at the
at the
moment.
yeah, at the
You're
time I
like, I'm
was
going to
like,
dodge a
oh,
bullet for a hot
yeah.
second.
I was like, I kissed this guy, and no, because
My mom told me when I was younger that if we held hands with a guy that we would get pregnant.
oh, see,
So, you
but
know,
that's what happened. And yeah, so I was pregnant, and of course, my son Broderick, so their dad has two other daughters,
okay.
so it's like three girls, and so this is how Leilani gets her name because um, Broderick was upset. He was like, he wanted a brother, whatever. He was like, I just want a brother. It is what it is. And I remember picking him up from the babysitters, and I had just did like the little ultrasound thing, and they tell you the gender, and I had some pink cookies in the car because I was gonna give him the cookies, and he ran out to the car while I was grabbing Brooklyn, and he saw the cookies and he started crying because he knew at that moment that
Oh,
it was a girl.
it's like, man.
Yeah. And so he was super upset. He was crying. I was like, well, you know what, Broderick? I was like, you don't have a brother, but I'll let you name Leilani. And
Oh,
so, but I was like, she have to have my initials. And
I
so that's
love that.
how we
Okay.
so Brooklyn and Broderick have their dad's initial, and Leilani has my
So he
initials.
named
He
Leilani.
named her Leilani. Yeah.
I mean, Leilani is not like it's a beautiful name. I
Yeah.
know a few Leilanis, but I think I actually only know two Leilanis, your daughter and another one, and both great people.
Mhm.
But that's not a common name. Where
Right.
did he come up with
Okay, so
that?
we think, and this is me and Brooklyn, he won't own
He
it.
won't he won't confess.
But we think that in school he had this little girl that he was like crushing
Crushing
on.
on.
Yeah. And her name was Leilani. And then we also had
Oh.
a neighbor when we first moved to California, across from my sister Shannon. Her name was Leilani, and actually she just passed away.
Oh.
We attended her funeral this Friday.
Oh.
And so between that Leilani and the little girl Leilani, we ended up with our Leilani.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sweet. What does Leilani mean?
If I'm not mistaken, I knew it back in the day.
I know.
But it was like
Put you on the
rose
spot.
or something like
Something
that.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
It's
So,
it's is it
because her middle name is Sophia, and I used to say Heavenly
oh.
Rose. So I don't know if the rose is for Leilani and the heavenly was for Sophia,
Well,
but
Sophia, which is my first daughter's name, is
yeah.
actually Greek
Uh-huh.
and means wisdom.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's what it was.
yeah, so I love that.
So yeah,
We got it both
we
Sophias
got a
too.
Sophia.
Is it with a PH or an F?
PH.
PH, mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too. I love that. I love that.
Leilani and Sophia.
So 3 kids.
3 kids now. Yes. Yes.
How was that?
Well,
I mean, newborn.
exactly. And so the difference between Leilani's dad and Brooklyn and Broderick's dad is that Leilani's dad was the type that he would send money because he had the money to send,
Mhm.
but there was no like interaction, there was no visits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He was an older man, and at the time I was like, well, you know what? I can't afford to I can't argue with you. I had like zero tolerance at the time for like arguing and
Right.
all that stuff. So I kind of like let a lot of stuff just slide with him because as long as he sent the money, and I'm like, I'm not gonna beg you to be a part of her
Yeah.
life and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that was that. But it
So
was
is
just
he still
mainly
inactive in her life?
well, she's 11 years old, and one thing I used to always tell him when she was smaller, I was like, you need to like get to know her now, and that way she can get to know you. So when she's around you, she's comfortable and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And it's gotten better over the years because now she can make those decisions, like if she want to see him and stuff like that. But we had to go to court. I initiated the court visit thing because it got to the point it'll be like, oh, I want to see her, and then you don't show up,
Yeah.
or it was more like a controlling
Yeah.
issue at that point. And I'm like, I have 2 other kids right now, and they were like very active. Like Lana was a baby, and I'm like, I just can't drop what I'm
Right.
doing just so you can come see her or, something like that.
Yeah.
And
You're
I
like, we
honestly,
need a mediator to come and
yeah,
help fix
yeah,
this.
yeah. And
Right.
I did it because at the time,
It's smart.
I felt like I didn't want it to be a situation where honestly, he financially, he was better off to me. And so I didn't want a surprise court visit like, oh, I'm going to
Right.
take her or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like, no, we'll just get everything put in writing and visitation and all that stuff. We'll put it in writing. Child support, we'll just have everything in writing. And so in the event something happened, then where this is the
It's good.
order.
It's smart.
So, yeah.
So in the middle of all of this, you're going to church.
Yeah.
You're raised in church.
Hmm.
Which a lot of people are.
Yeah.
And they have like, very similar upbringing. So like there's no like judgment or shade like thrown, but I do find it like it's very interesting. Like this is such a huge area in people's life.
Yeah.
The issue of sexual sin
Hmm.
and like giving that part of us to people before and
Right.
out of God's order. Like where was God in you in the midst of all of this life that you're living? You're
Hmm.
making things happen on your own. Like, were you dependent on God? Was it more like, I can do it. I'm Latora. I'm single
Yeah.
mom. Like, I'm going to get it done. Like, where was God in the story at this point in your life?
God was always there for me, but I feel like I had disappointed him, so much and, stuff like that. But I just always knew that he was with me. I always knew that, and I always prayed. But I can be honest and tell you, like, sometimes, like, even going to church and you see things in church and you be like, oh, well, that person's getting away with that. And this
Right?
person's doing that. So it got to be okay for me. You know
I mean, we justify things like
And
that
that's
all the
exactly what
time.
happened. So I felt like there was a lot of justifying just my actions and just things that I was doing. But I've always like had a longing and wanting to know like and don't get me wrong, I grew up in church, right?
Yeah.
We went to church like 4 or 5 times.
Like we didn't just go to church. We
Yeah,
we basically lived at the
we
church.
lived in church,
Yeah.
and so even prior to like having my kids, and it was just church, 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 church. But one thing, and while going to church and having these my kids and stuff like that, one thing that I did, Brooklyn and Broderick, as they got older, Leilani was just into drawing, so I didn't force like sports and stuff on her, but I always made them. I'm like, hey, if you're gonna participate in sports, then you have to serve in church.
Mm.
And so in the midst of everything, like I knew that part was important
Yeah.
to have them serving in
Yeah.
church. And so I felt like they needed a balance.
Yeah.
And so,
I love that.
yeah.
I think there's a commonality of people who love God. That they do. They love God. You loved God. And they go to church. But like you, there are some holes that
Yeah.
have not been filled. There's some voids. And like most of us, when there's a void, we look to fill it
Yeah.
because it's a desperate void
Hmm.
that is desperately needing to be filled. Like that is created in every human being by God to be filled by God. But often most of our stories and why we all have testimonies
Yeah.
is because we tried a whole bunch of different things to fill that void besides until we finally met him and
Hmm.
we're like, oh, okay, you can feel that. Like
Yeah.
that actually makes sense and this fits and feels right. So I do think that it's a lot of people's stories. And I always like think of different people in my world that I think are champions.
Hmm.
And I think they're fantastic. And I love how God uses them. And they have a very similar story
Right.
to yours. That's not my story,
Hmm.
although I was no perfect girl.
Yeah.
like I got as close to the fire as possibly you
Yeah.
could, you know? Like that was like I was basically standing on the fire. Although I may have not done the full deed, like I was as close as you can. And I think that we have like these people who are just champions and but then I hear you say like, but I felt like I disappointed God.
Yeah.
And like it makes my heart break that so many people and there is an aspect like our sin does grieve the Holy Spirit. Especially when we continue to
Yeah.
sin knowingly, when we know what, but I also know that his love and his mercy and his grace, like he's so proud of who we are as his kids and like filth and all, mess and all, whether we got ourselves into it or someone else put the
Hmm.
mess on us. Like, he's like, come to me. Like, I'm the one who cleans you up. Like,
Right.
so I do think that I at times am disappointed in the decisions my
Hmm.
kids may make, but I'm not ever disappointed in them.
Yeah.
There's a vast
Right.
difference.
Yeah.
But I do think that a lot of people who, especially with sexual sins, have that same mindset of like, I'm a
Hmm.
disappointment to God. And
Yeah.
they've made it like I'm the failure, not
I
I
feel.
failed.
Yeah.
And his grace is going to cover me, free me, set me
Yeah.
free, forgive me, and wash me clean and make me brand
Right.
new. And so I think for those of you who are listening that you're like, I am a disappointment to God too. I can relate to that. Like, let me just say, you're not a disappointment to
Right.
God.
No.
Like, and I know that Latora would say that as well. Like, that was a moment she felt, like a truth that she felt was
Yeah.
true. But you aren't. The act is not something that the Lord may love. Like, it's not something that He's going to be like, yay. But like, God is a miracle worker and takes
Right.
all of our decisions, good, bad, ugly, and He can make something beautiful out of
Yeah.
them, as He has
Oh,
with you.
thanks.
And your kids are amazing.
Yeah, they
They are
are.
fantastic. And so I know that like it's not the end of your story that you find yourself pregnant. Okay, so a question. What was it like? Oh, I'm hoping, I'm praying
Uh-huh.
that you had a good experience in your church finding yourself pregnant and single.
So, yes. Um, in the beginning I did. They loved on me.
Yeah,
I had baby showers from work, from
good.
church. I'm pretty Shannon. I had like so I had the support um that I needed as far as like church and stuff like that. But over the years, just of raising now 3 kids, I get these compliments like, "Oh my God, you're such a good mom. Oh my God, your kids are so great." And so I'm constantly hearing that. And to be honest, like you would think it's like it's a compliment that, like, oh, okay, yeah. But I started getting angry.
Yeah, tell me about
Yeah,
that.
no, so like I started just getting angry, and then I'm like, okay, God, like what is going on? Like, is this the only thing that people see when they see
Mm,
me?
yeah,
Single mom, you know? And I mean, I'm grateful, thank you for the compliments,
sure.
but there has to be so much more to me than just being a single mom. And so this is what I wrestle with God, because I'm like, what is my purpose? And
Yeah.
I would look at my sister and I'm like, okay, she knew that she was going to go to school and she was going to be this and she was going to get her degree in that area, and she's doing well. And I'm like, okay, I went to school and I still at the time I still didn't even know what I was going to do, but I was like, okay, yeah, you go to school, right? But yeah, it was just like I was getting just so angry and I'm like, okay, and I was to the point I'm like, what is my purpose? And I'm like, this can't be my purpose, being a single mom. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Mm,
And I went through like a roller coaster of like every year just going through cycles. I mean, it was like it was almost like clockwork. Like the enemy knew that in October, like I
interesting.
was gonna like attack Latora and she was gonna go through this all the way through like January, February, and then we have Leilani's birthday, then we have Broderick's birthday, we have Brooklyn's, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and then it was like, it was a constant cycle of me just like feeling like, just
Who am
who
I?
am I? And there has to be more to me than being just a single mom and, stuff like that. And my
Yeah.
kids were doing great. Like, they were making really good grades in school, and just my kids, like for me, Broderick is a testimony, because if I have a whole another testimony when it comes to my background with my brothers, because I have 3 brothers that are incarcerated. And so my whole thing of bringing my kids to California was like, okay, not just to get away, but I didn't want them to experience or have to deal with any of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And even though I would say, okay, I'm a generational curse breaker,
Right.
that was the thing. But at the same time, I'm like, no, there has to be so much more
Yeah.
to me than just being a single mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like sometimes I'm like, okay, God, yeah. Because I still get the compliments. Oh my God, your kids are this and your kids
Right.
are that. And you're such a good mom, and stuff like that. But I'm like, okay, there has to be more.
Yeah.
And so that's when I really started like just seeking God, like, what is my purpose? Like, what is it that, you would have me to do? And I remember one day I said, you know what, God, if being a single mom is my purpose, then I'll take it.
Ooh.
Yes.
There was a surrender.
Yes. And I was like, if it's for me to help other single moms and just be able to encourage them and let them hear my story and let them know that, hey, you know what? I went through it. By the grace of God, you can go through it. You can do it, And I was like, okay, God, if that's my purpose, then have at it.
So where have you landed on that with the Lord? What has he said? What has he spoken to you about who you are?
Mhm.
Is your purpose just being, not that just, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
like, is it just being a single mom, or has God revealed that there's more?
There's so much more,
I mean,
but
I know that.
I know there's so much more, but he wanted me to, like you said, surrender that portion of my life to him, because like I said, I felt like I was such a disappointment, and I was like, okay, like I said, there has to be more, but I couldn't get past, the part of like just everybody looking at me like I'm such a good mom, because I'm like, there's some nights I don't sleep, there's some nights like I'm like, and I'm not gonna say hungry, but I'm tired, and I wish like someone can come and like take these kids. And one thing I live with regret was for the longest, because I wanted Broderick to have I wanted Brooklyn and Broderick and Leilani to have like a male role model in the
Sure.
house
Yeah.
with us.
Which
And
isn't a bad desire to
right.
have.
And I felt like I was like, man, did I rob them of that? But at the same time, it's like over the years, I just never met anybody that was worth like coming in our house. So
I mean, I would
yeah.
rather,
Yes.
I'd rather a woman be single than to bring in a joker
Yeah.
that is going to give a bad impression of what a
Right.
father and a husband should be. So, yeah.
So that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It still hasn't happened. But
It hasn't happened yet.
yeah.
You're still open to it.
I am very much so.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Very much so. I am.
But we need a godly man
Yes.
who goes to church, not because he has to, and is a tither.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm always like, I've had men, because I do love to do a little matchmaking from time to time. It doesn't happen often, because it's hard to find
hmm
good men.
Yeah.
Like really, like, and single
Yeah.
that don't have like a ton of baggage. So, but I have had some men that have come up to me and they're like, I heard that you matchmake. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, but here's my criteria. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I hardly ever see you at church.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, start coming to church, start serving,
hmm
love God more than anything else, and be a tither. And when you're those things, come back and tell me, and then I will point you in the right direction, because I'm not setting anyone up who is not like ready to be a fear of God kind of like man.
Mhm.
So if I ever do point you in a direction and be like, hey, look at this, you'll know that I have vetted them at least.
Okay.
So
All right.
if you got some men who meet that criteria or are willing to do that, send them my way and I'll vet them.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay,
But
so where were we at? I got distracted by matchmaking. Oh, your purpose.
Purpose, yeah. And so I remember, and I tell people this all the time, I was like, I don't remember exactly how or what date. Some people are like, oh, this date I did X, Y, and
Right.
Z, right? But I remember just going through a place in my life where I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm done. Like, God, whatever you want to do. And I was like, I remember saying yes. And I was like, I don't know what that yes is going to look like. But I started praying so
I
much
love
more. Granted, I was in church all my life and I had never read the Bible like all the way through. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I just started like just
Well,
really,
that's a story for a lot of people.
yeah. And so I just really like something just clicked and it was like, you know what? I have to get so much of God. And I remember like even doing this thing, okay, it was like, okay, I'm gonna start this single moms this thing and it's gonna be called Yes Lord. And
I love that.
and I have it all written out and everything. And then I don't know, but I was like, I just got like so to the point, like, okay, God. And even in the midst of me saying yes and having like I have this journal, like one of my friends gave me a journal for my birthday, and I completed that journal with just like scriptures and just getting in his word and just stuff like that. And even during that time, there was still that cycle that
Yeah.
was happening. And I remember like just being so close. I felt like I was at my breaking point, and there was this guy. There was this guy that came into my life, and it was at a vulnerable point a few years ago. I had just lost my brother. He had just lost someone, and then it was just a bad situation. It turned out really bad. And at that point, I was like, okay, God, like I'm tired of like trying to do it. I know you can do it, but
Yeah.
for whatever reason, it's not happening, the way I think it should.
Was this
Or
was like this kind of guy, was this part of your cycle? Or was
yes,
this
you can say it was definitely part of my cycle because I would
it
go
didn't
through.
always maybe manifest with a man,
No,
but
but it was part
it
of the
was part
cycle
of the cycle.
because part of the cycle was around October, which is October now. And I'm like, even today, I'm like, thank God, because that cycle's been broken. I know
Amen.
it have. And there's like, we'll talk about that.
Yes.
But I would, around October, and especially after my mom died, my mom passed away in 2019. And I felt like my world was like crushing. And then my dad passed away. And then I have 3 nephews that passed away, and then
Yeah.
just a lot
Yeah.
of death and stuff like that. But a part of that cycle would be, and all 3 of my sisters were married at the time. So I have 3 sisters, 3 older sisters. And I was the only person that was like single, raising kids. And I'm like, y'all don't understand. Y'all don't know. Like, even if you guys are having a bad day, you still have somebody that you can talk
Right.
to. And so around October, around this time of the year, maybe leaning into the holidays, it was just like I'm reminded that I'm a single mom, a single woman. I'm by myself. I'm gonna be going to holiday functions and
Yeah.
all this stuff by myself. So that was part of the cycle. And
It
then
kind of
trying
got
to
you
like,
into a headspace.
yes. And it was just like I said, around October, beginning of October, it would just like happen. I would be like depressed and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And sometimes I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
Back in October
Yeah.
that
How did
led up
this
to
start?
how did it start? And I really don't know how it started. I try to figure it out, just like thinking like what happened. And I don't know, but for years around October, I would just like go into like this weird, just mode of like still functioning, got to take the
Sure.
kids to practice and show up at their games
Right.
and all this stuff, but still like, why am I single? And then I got to a point, it was like, what's wrong with me?
Mm.
Everybody say I'm a good mom, but I don't have a man.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was like, what's wrong with me? And it wasn't like a poor me, but it was like the enemy was still trying to attack my mind,
Yeah.
even while like I'm in church and while I'm trying to, be active and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it was just the
The
cycle, the
cycle.
cycle.
Okay, so how did you break the cycle?
So, um, the last thing that happened, and I was like, okay, this can never happen again. Because it got to the point like the
With
police
this
were
bad
involved.
guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, this could never happen again. And then it was like tied to my old church,
Mm,
and stuff like that.
it
So
was a little messy.
it was messy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very much messy. But honestly, the cycle broke because I remember I prayed because I don't just like make moves, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
prayed and I was like, God, if it's time for me to go, if it's time for me to move, like where do you want me to go? Right. And I was walking up the hill and sometimes I feel like when I pray and I'm outside, it's like there's nothing stopping my prayers from getting into the heavens. And I feel like God just like he speaks to my heart like right
I
then,
love that.
right?
I love that.
And so I was praying, I was like, God, if it's time, like where do you want me to go? Because I know there's so much more that you have for me. And he said, I've given you grace. Yeah, no, seriously. And he was like, I've given you grace. And I was like, grace? Like grace? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I can see the church here. I can see the hill as I'm walking up the hill to my house, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, I saw that and he was like, I've given you grace. And what that meant to me, like over that past the issues and situations and stuff like that. And also it was like, okay, this is a turning point.
Yeah.
And I remember
Lots of layers with that word.
it was lots, yeah. And I tell people this all the time. I was like, honestly, I grew up in church. I don't ever really remember hearing the word grace growing up.
Interesting.
Yeah, because and maybe it's me, but it was just more like you don't do this, you don't do that, you
Sure.
don't go this place, and it was so much more of don't. And I think that's where a lot of my disappointment came in it because I felt like I wasn't doing everything that I was supposed to do, and not knowing that if I slip up, if I fall, I can repent, and then there's that grace that God
He
gives us.
covers.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that word grace got really, really big to me. But yeah, so I came to grief share because, of course, there was still some hurt and just death and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I came to grief share, and I wasn't like really coming to church, but I did do the grief share here at Grace, and they was just so loving and stuff like that. And I remember, like, I brought the kids to church, and Leilani, my daughter, she was like, so we came to church, and then of course you know how like you come to a church and you be like, okay, I don't know if this is where I'm supposed to be, so let
Sure.
me go back to where I was. And then I remember when Leilani was like, "Can we go to Grace?" And
Oh.
then I was like, "Well, why?" I was like, "Why do you want to go to Grace like that?" And then she was like, "Cause I can understand, the message and stuff like that." And I
Oh.
was like, "Okay." And so for the first couple Sundays, she would sit in church with us, and when we would get in the car, I'd be like, "Okay, what was the message about?"
You're
And so
like, let me see. Let me
yeah,
see if you really mean that.
and she was able to like tell me
Wow.
exactly what the messages was.
And
But
she's like 9 at that point, 9, 10.
10, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we were
It's
sitting in church, and
impressive.
she said, "I want to get baptized." And that's when we had the baptism here.
The whole
The whole,
family.
yeah,
That was so
yeah.
fun.
So I think honestly, it was during that time, like it was a different yes for me because at that point I'm like, okay, my kids are getting older. I cannot, do anything that's going to get in their way of
Yeah.
having a relationship and being a godly example for them. And honestly, I was just tired. I was tired of trying to like do it on my own.
Yeah.
And so coming here and then the single moms ministry was like so amazing.
Oh,
It's been such a blessing.
I'm so
And
glad to hear that.
yes, it's such a blessing. And I can tell you, because it was the Shauna and Jane, they approached me when we had I think it's the 4th of July
Yeah.
thing, bash, and they was like, come to single moms. And I'm going to be honest, I was like, I do not want to go to no single moms because this is just going to remind me of that I'm
That I'm a
single.
single.
Yeah. And so, but I came and ever since then, it's been a blessing. And I can say, like, for sure, like last October, I know that cycle was broken.
That's amazing.
Yes. And today's October 1st, and I am free. And
Yes.
yes. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
I love that. I'm so glad that God brought you to Grace.
I'm glad to be here.
You are a gift. I love your ministry to single moms. I love that God has taken your message and is giving you a platform to help and reach other people with hope, with tools, with friendship, with
Yeah.
community. All of that is so good. And you do have more. Like God is using and developing your leadership, your voice. Like she is working on her voice with preaching and teaching. Like that's all coming.
Yeah.
Like that's part of what God has been preparing in you, as well as other things that I don't even know.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've got some curriculum in you, some Bible studies or some, some
Yeah.
that you've written about saying yes.
Yes.
I love that there was a predetermined yes
Yeah.
to what you didn't even know, but it was just like, it's okay. Whatever it is, God, I've already decided.
Yeah.
I've already said yes. Like, what could God do with people who have a predetermined yes? There's something powerful, and I think God is looking for people who've already settled in their heart.
Yeah.
Like, Lord, whatever you say, wherever you take me, whatever you ask me to do, however hard it is, at whatever cost it makes, like
Yeah.
I've already said yes because you said yes to me. Like you sacrificed it all. So my yes is like all in. So it sounds like there's some curriculum or books or something in you that is yet to come, but already, I mean, you already have a journal full.
I have a journal full of stuff.
So I love that. I love
And
that.
one thing I can truly say is that when the last thing happened, I wasn't mad at church. I wasn't mad at people. I was mad at myself because I was like, why did I let this happen? Like, how did I get so close and I allow this to happen? Right. And I feel like in that moment, God wanted to teach me, show me that there were still some things in me that needed to be worked out. And one thing was because I love hard and I want the best in people, And so by me having that character, like that's who I am, I had no boundaries. I had no boundaries. And so that's what he revealed to me. Like even going forward, I need to have boundaries. And so one thing I did do, I got a therapist. I got counseling.
Her sister is a therapist too.
But she wouldn't counsel me.
No, no. Like, no, that's too close.
I did because I was so disappointed in myself. Because like I said, I had said yes, but then how did I go backwards?
Sure.
In my yes. And so it was like and then my sister in Louisiana, she was telling me, like, oh, there's this thing called familiar spirits and people know this stuff and they pick up on it. And I'm like, but my heart was to just be there and help and support. And then the while doing that, it's like I lost myself.
Yeah.
Trying to help somebody else.
Right.
And so, through that counseling and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I have to have these boundaries, even in my yes, even in trying to serve, even in trying to move forward in God. So that was a breakthrough for sure.
Boundaries is one of my favorite words.
Yeah.
I have no problems with boundaries. They are so healthy.
Yeah.
They are so good. I mean, I think people can like go crazy on them, but like, I love boundaries. They're meant to protect what is the most important. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Have you read any books on boundaries? Because I've read 1,000.
I don't think I've read a boundary book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some really good ones that I'm going to recommend.
Okay.
And when I say reading a book, for me, that's a 99% audiobook for me. So just know that when I say reading, I normally don't have time to sit down and physically read a book.
Yeah.
So I'm a big audiobook girl. there's a few really great books on boundaries. One is called Boundaries
Yeah. Someone
by
recommended
John
that book.
Townsend, I think is his name.
Yeah.
And it's been around for years. Like, I just reread it last year.
Okay.
So good. There's another one by Lisa Turkhurst, which I've already mentioned in our first episode of this season. It's called Good Boundaries and Goodbyes.
Okay.
And it's also just like because sometimes we need to have good boundaries. And then there are the occasions, and we don't do this lightly, but there are some times where you have to say goodbye to that relationship. And there is a separation, or in some cases, a divorce, or in some cases, until you get healthy, until you get the help, we are not going to commingle until you have gotten the help you need. That kind of like estrangement, even, like cutting someone out of your life.
Completely.
I think we're in a culture where we're doing that far too quickly over non-toxic issues. It's like, you just made me really mad and you really offended me. Like, I think we're doing that, but this one will kind of teach you like when is the right time to do that and how and why. So both of those are my top 2 boundary books. Boundaries by John Townsend and Lisa Turkhurst, Good Boundaries and Goodbyes. They're so good.
Okay.
So good. And it will just reinforce your like, yes. You'll just be like, the whole time you're like, yes, yes. Like, okay. Oh, that's why I got in that pickle. Okay, let's mend that fence.
And even with the therapy, like, I realized that some of my behaviors of like not having those boundaries, because my mom was such a nice, easygoing person.
Right.
And like staying with my dad all those years with him, being his alcohol abuse and stuff like that. And so sometimes it's like that stuff is embedded in us. And we
it's
don't even
learned
know.
behavior.
Yeah, like I didn't know. And then like while going through therapy, I was like, oh my God. I was, I picked that up from my mom,
Yeah,
stuff. And so, but I thought it was normal. I thought that's what we do.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
Which I
was-
do love that this generation of like kind of like our age and younger have really decided to be generational curse breakers and cycles. And there is something beautiful that has happened in saying like, because in generations past, there was, and I do believe in most cases, it was out of good intentions, but there was enabling of dysfunction and even toxic, harmful behavior.
Right.
And everyone just did the dance of dysfunction and just be quiet around this person. We just don't talk about it. We just let that thing happen. We know that he touched you wrong, but we're just going to forgive and move on and just keep a distance from Uncle So. It's like that was a whole generation of that. Like, and like I'm 50, but like I think Gen X on down is kind of like, I don't think I'm going to do that. Like, and we don't have to be jerks about it. We can be kind and loving, but I'm not going to I'm not going to dance the dance of dysfunction. I'm not going to stay on that train because it's not healthy. It's not right. And I don't want my kids to then do the dance of dysfunction as well. So I love that there is, and you said it earlier, like I'm a generational cycle breaker. Like that gets me going. That makes my baby jump kind of stuff. Like that's good. Like I love when people can honor their history, honor where they came from, and at the same time and say, but as for me and my house,
it stops here.
It stops here.
It stops here.
Yeah.
And I can see it. Like, so that's the testimony part of being me being a single mom, because I see the manifestation of my prayers, and I just see how God has like really just been with my kids.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, she's amazing, and she's in college. She's been able to do things that I didn't even think about doing at her age.
I'm like, how do you do this? She
You
travels
know?
the world,
Yes, and
getting it paid for. I mean,
yeah,
she's like, yeah,
yeah.
that
So
girl, like, she's got some crazy amount of favor on her life.
she does, and it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, I do believe that if I had stayed back,
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been
The
the
story
same.
would have
Yeah,
been
it would have
different.
been different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now she's leading Bible studies at her school. So I'm like, okay, God,
This girl.
And my heart has been happy like all week, right? Because my prayer was for my kids to like, not that I forced, the faith on them and force anything, but of course, like you said, as for me and my house, we're
Yeah.
gonna serve, like we're gonna go to church, we're gonna
Right.
serve the Lord, and they still live with me, and so we're still gonna go to church,
Right.
and we're still gonna serve the Lord. But my prayer has always been for my kids to get it on their own. And with
Yes.
Brooklyn leading Bible studies, I remember, I think, like when she graduated, somebody gave her a Bible with her. We were talking about this. They gave
Hmm.
her a Bible, had her name on it. And for years, I think the first 2 years after graduating, that Bible just like sat on her dresser. And I'm like, okay,
Collecting
like
dust.
when is she going to pick up this Bible,
Oh, it's
And
still
then, like,
brand new.
all of a sudden, she's like, in her word, and there's something that I always do. Like, I would get my Bible and I would sit at the table, the kitchen table, and I would read my Bible early in the morning. I would
Hmm.
play worship music, or some type of like music,
Yeah.
and I would read my Bible. And it was just amazing because I remember like one time I'm coming down to go to the kitchen table to read my Bible, and in that same seat that I sit in, Brooklyn was there.
I mean, and like in that
She
moment, you're just like,
Yes,
yes.
yes. She was there. She had her
But you have to
Bible
play it
open.
cool.
I know, right? She had her Bible open, and I'm like, oh my God, yes. And
Oh.
I'm like, okay, you took my seat, but and that was
You can
like, it
have
was a
it.
highlight for me. And that's,
Oh,
yes,
major.
major
Like,
highlight. Yeah.
what is taught is caught.
Yeah.
Like, they catch it, they see it, and it might take them a little bit. There might be a delay, but it is coming.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, like the biggest blessing to see that.
Right. And then Broderick, my son, like, of course, they know that coming to church together as a family is something that, I look forward to. I know both Brooklyn and Broderick, they both work and they're both in school, but they know, like, okay, you got to make some time around on those
Right.
Sundays so that we can be in church together as a family. And my heart just been overjoyed because he mentioned about coming to men's ministry on a Monday night. And
Oh,
me and Brooklyn, we was like, boy, you didn't go to no men's ministry. What are you talking about? We did not take him serious, right?
oh my
And so
gosh.
Sunday, Gabe was like, I saw Broderick at men's ministry. And we was like, wait, what? So he was telling the truth. He came on his own, right? And I was
Oh,
like, oh my God,
I know that
Yes.
feeling of just, I mean, there is no, as a mom,
Yes.
I cannot think of a greater joy than when
Mhm.
you see your kids,
Right.
like, they get it. They've had an encounter with Christ and
Yes.
they love him all on their own.
Right.
It's
And
the most
yeah.
rewarding thing in the world.
And he went again this Monday. So it's been 2 Mondays in a row. My son's been at men's ministry. So thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
I
And
love that.
and my heart is happy because I've always wanted him to be around godly men.
Yeah.
And even though he's 20, it's not too late. It's not
No.
too late. And the
No.
fact that he's coming from, he could work, and then he goes to football practice, and then he's going to men's ministry. I'm telling you, you guys, like if me being a single mom all these years is for that, then I'm like, to God be the glory.
Oh,
I'm so serious. I'm like,
that's
'cause they're getting
that's so good. And like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you
Yes.
shared those two things at the
Yeah.
end. Like, that's so good.
Yeah.
That I cannot wait to tell Matthew.
Yeah.
He's gonna like he's gonna basically use that and tell everyone and our managers, like,
Mhm.
this is look at the win.
Yeah.
Here is the win.
Yeah. And it's definitely a win for me. And
Oh,
Leilani,
that's awesome.
right now, she's at the youth. She's with, so
She's with my son.
she's with, yeah. So I'm like,
Oh,
and I remember like yesterday, Monday, I took time off from work. I'm in school, so
again.
I'm in school again. But now I'm like, okay, I can do it this time,
Yeah.
right? And so we had to have this no media, like no social media, TV, music, nothing. And I've been so busy with work and school. I just feel like I haven't been able to like really dive into my word.
Yeah.
And so Monday, I remember I was able to go to my seat because everybody, like Brooklyn was at school, Broderick was at school, Leilani was at school. I had that time. And I remember just like crying out to God, and I began to just weep, and like it was just tears of joy. And I'm like, thank you, God, thank you.
You're
Like
so
you did it, like
good.
I can see it,
Yeah.
and just to be able to, because I know my mom prayed for us, and when she passed away,
100%.
I felt a covering, like I felt that covering, like kind of left when she left, and I felt in my heart that I needed to pick that up, not just for my kids, but for my brothers and my sisters and stuff
Yeah.
like that as well. But no, it's like I've been praying and praying, and I'm like, it's happening. And I'm like, this has been my highlight for this week.
Yeah. It's mine now too.
Yeah, it is. And I'm like, because I mean, like I say, just looking at the generations and looking at
Yeah.
how things could have been had we stayed in Louisiana and just seeing them now, I'm like,
It's worth it.
it was worth it.
Worth every night of tears,
Yep.
every exhausted end of day. Like,
Yeah.
there's nobody else to pass this to.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yep.
Well done.
And I feel like so with the generational cycle breaking, now my kids will be able to tell their kids, and it's going to continue.
It's going to continue.
Yeah.
Amen. I love that. So good. I think that's a really, like, that's like and we just put the cherry on the top of the
Yeah.
cake. What a fun conversation. Loved getting to hear your story, getting to know
Yeah.
you more. I know you're more than just a single mom, but I
Yeah.
really loved that we got to dive into this aspect of your life because it is a huge part of your
Yeah,
life.
it is.
So on that note, would you pray for our women, and then I'll close us out?
All right, I'm praying for women, single moms, or just in
Whatever's
general.
on your
Okay.
heart, you pray whatever you want to.
Yes. Father, we thank you for this moment. We thank you, God, that you showed up even here tonight, God, in the middle of a podcast. And Father, we just pray, God, that every woman that is under the sound of our voice know just how special they are to
Yeah.
you, know how much they are loved. And it doesn't matter if they're married or single, God, just let them know, God, that you love them and your grace is sufficient and you are more
Yes.
than enough, Lord. And I just thank you for the opportunities. I thank you for our children. I pray, God, that you would bless homes, bless families, bless children, bless
Yes.
every woman, God, every single mom, married mom, mothers that want to have kids, want to be married. Just bless us all and just keep us in a place, God, where we can hear from you.
Yes.
Just allow us to say yes in whatever way or however that yes sounds. Just allow us to just walk in confidence in that yes and knowing that you're holding our hands and you're with us and you're with our children. And we just honor you. We thank you and we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Oh, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here and spending time talking with me
Yeah.
and with all of our gals. If you are at Grace, or maybe you're just even in the Oceanside, North County, San Diego area, and you're a single mom and you want some community with some amazing other moms, go check out our website, gracesd.tv /groups. Check out the Single Moms Time and come be a part. You don't have to attend
Yes.
our church to be a part of
Right.
our Single Moms group. And of course, and I feel like I could say this for you, if you are a single mom at our church and you need wisdom, prayer, a hug, like, obviously I would love to, but we also have
Yeah.
Latora, who I volunteer because I know she would,
Yes, I would.
to stand with you in the gap
Yes.
and pray over your kids and over your breaking some generational cycles in your world as well. So great episode. So fun. It's so fun talking with you. We love you guys, and we will see you next time. Honey in the Rock is a ministry of Grace Church in Oceanside, California. Follow us on Instagram and join our community at Honeys of Grace. If today's story encouraged you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Reminder, God is always working for our good, even if we don't see it. May you find sweetness in your journey.